Do you believe you're valuable, Stephen?
Yeah. No, I don't.
No. So 2 weeks ago, we started to unpack this along with a whole lot of therapy. I've been unpacking it with my therapist. But what I've found is that very few people actually believe that they are valuable.
Very few people, but also very few males.
Even less males. And even less males that are athletes.
Yes.
But, yes. We're going to unpack that today for you on The Mizell Show.
Perfect.
Welcome to The Mizell Show.
An inspiration for a new generation.
Hi, I'm Alana Mizell, a loving mother of two, a devoted wife to Stephen, and an entrepreneur helping women realize their dreams and potential.
And I'm Stephen Mizell, caring father of two, a devoted husband to Alana, and a driving force to help young men prepare for life after college football.
And if that wasn't enough, we're a biracial couple.
She was raised in the North, but I was raised in the South.
The only thing normal about our lives, who am I kidding? It's never normal around here. Join us for The Mizell Show.
Right now.
Stephen Mizell, do you know your value?
Yes.
Lies.
Ah.
So a couple weeks ago, it was, what, last week?
Yeah, it was
We've
like,
talked about it so much over the last 2 weeks that I'm
like last week we
was
really,
it last week?
like a week and a half, I think. And then the snow and being snowed in
Yeah.
and not leaving the house like deja
we
vu
don't
every
know
single
what's
day.
happening these days. But I asked Stephen, do you know your value? And that's something that I've been working on with my therapist. Like, do I innately know my value? And so I asked Stephen, and his immediate response was,
Yeah, I'm a man. I know my value. I know what I do. And then my wife, in all her glory and beauty of talking through things, she said, well, how do you know your value? And I immediately go to workspace.
Yeah.
I go based on, well, the players feel this way about me, or I feel this way when I walk into I've achieved this, or I have this job, or I can do this or do that. And then she said, but do you 100% know and truly know your value? And
and the difference between...
I floundered. I was like a fish out of water. I was like,
Right.
how dare you expose me, woman? What do you mean, me being a 36-year-old man, and in a man football? What do you mean?
I'm a man.
I'm a man. Like, how you gonna question me and my value? And man, I was floored by that.
Okay, so there's a difference between your value and having confidence.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between your value and your achievement. And
Ooh,
I
this is
think
true.
that we associate value with achievement and a
yes.
value with outgoingness and value with
confidence.
and what you've achieved and all these things. And you put in X plus Y, you get out Z.
Yeah.
I just alphabet that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There you go.
But that's not value. You are born with value. So then, Stephen cannot do anything to give more value.
But
You are not a scientific equation when it comes to
But
value.
when I first answered that question, everything that you said to me was 1 + 1 = 2.
Correct.
And I was treating myself like a math equation. And it's not until
Right.
you know what? Let's bring it back.
Okay.
Let's ask
So-
those questions. Go for it.
Do you know your value, Stephen?
In this day and moment, did you put me on a spot? No, I don't know my value.
Okay, but what did you say when I first asked you? You said yes because of the players and things, right?
I said yes based on the math equation. I just
Right.
assumed that surely I'm
And then
valuable.
as we started digging, what came out was, why don't you feel valuable? What were times that you or other people made you feel like you were less than them?
Oh yeah, I mean, when you challenged me that, sadly it was during our pillow talk when we were trying to wind down. I couldn't sleep that night, and I couldn't really go through the next day.
And I'm like,
knocked out. I'm just like, this chick got me, my head spinning. But I'm gonna go back to it, and I think it's something that's kind of ironic. Like when you think of value, you think of what you've done lately. You think of, oh, I have this job, but when you really truly get down to the bottom of it,
or you think of what you've overcome.
yes.
But
it's not always overcome. It's something that could be lingering out there.
Right. It could be lingering, and it could be the reason that you feel like you have to overcome. So what is it that you're overcoming?
Yeah. And so with me,
Stephen, what is it that you're overcoming?
I'm overcoming the lack of coolness in middle school. No, I'm gonna say, be honest with you.
And I think when you ask these questions and you start to have a conversation with somebody, people immediately, you can kind of figure out where it's coming.
Yeah.
Because they start to feel shame. So I asked the question, you were like, yeah, but I wasn't that cool in middle school. And you immediately felt shame, and you started to maybe kind of make a joke about it to cover up the pain that is actually lingering from when you were in middle school, and you felt less valuable and felt that you had to do something to be able to be cool and be valuable.
Yeah, and that's something that I think a lot of people, they say they overcome or they go to overcompensate for, but they never get to the root problem. Like, why did you feel less valuable? And honest with you, I felt less valuable because I was in a group of peers, a group of people, and I was always the odd man out. Never had the girlfriend, never had the respect or the, I guess, coolness that I was striving for.
According to you.
According to me.
Right.
According to me, and according to the reactions of the, I guess you say, other middle schoolers. And it
just middle schoolers in general, or are you talking about a specific kind of middle schooler?
Maybe a girl, but it went to high school. It went into high school in which
it went into college.
It went into college. It
goes into today.
It goes into today. But I think now that today I am able to go back and process what those feelings were and how I felt my value was dictated on if I was able to do X, Y, Z.
Right.
Which makes me now feel that's how it's supposed to be. But something that I steal from Alana a lot, but she doesn't know I steal from her a lot when I talk to my players. And so I was talking to one of our players the other day, and I was bringing home to him his value piece because he's struggling with that, and I'm struggling. I told him, he's like, how are you 36 and struggling with your value? I'm like, boy, you have no idea. But something that...
Bro, you're going to be struggling with your value till the day you die because there's always something else. There's always something else that you've got to unpack. But I also want to ask you this. So what if we flip that script? So specifically, you had two guys that you ran with that appeared to be more popular than you.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But what you didn't really process and think about till lately was their home life environment. So maybe they didn't really click with you because you had two married parents. You had parents that cared that you were home on time. You had a mom and a dad that loved each other and didn't have guys running in and out of your house. You had a father that showed up and took you to practice. So what if we flipped that script and you felt like you were less popular because you couldn't do X, Y, and Z, but really they were ashamed and felt less valuable because they didn't have two parents that loved them?
I ain't got nothing to that. Because, I mean, again,
but it goes, it's all about how you see it, right?
It goes,
so there's no shame. As you start to unpack this with your loved ones or your family and your friends, and you're asking these tough questions like, do you feel valuable? And then you have them explain how they're valuable to themselves. If they start to give you an output and don't just say, I was created in the image of God, and God doesn't make 6s, he makes 9s. The only 10 is Christ. And so I have to know that me innately of doing everything else, there are no good works that you can do that will make you a 7, an 8, a 6.
But
you are always a 9.
Let me stop you right here, though. As a man or a husband, why are we so guarded to open up and talk? Because if you ask, if you ask 98% of men in America, do you feel valued? They're going to go to a bank account. They're going to go to a math equation.
That's to do with respect. That's respect and leadership. Society has told us if I have a car, I have a bank account, I have a job that everybody aspires for them to be,
married,
I am going to gain respect.
And gain value.
Of whatever they feel they should have respect for. Whatever was taken from them in the beginning.
So with us as men, respect equals value. And so I have to have value.
I mean, it goes back to the garden. Eve didn't respect Adam in the garden, and she listened to somebody else, so she took away all of his respect.
Jeez, girl.
That's what it goes back to. If you look at it from a biblical stance, every time a woman enters the picture, if she takes away his respect and takes away his job, what he's doing, his money, his land, whatever it is, then his respect is taken away. So any woman that doesn't just look at their husband and say, I respect you, that's why when you go to talk behind another man's back to somebody else, you've lost all respect to them. So wives, if you're turning around telling everybody and all your girlfriends the dirty laundry about arguments that you may get in and how bad your husband is and how they don't close the cabinet drawers and don't put the seat down, all you're doing is shutting out their respect, which is making them feel less valuable, and they're going to go find their value somewhere else, and they're going to think that they find their value in societal things, which is money, women, and their work.
That's
fact.
True. That's true.
That is fact.
That is fact, because if they don't have that innate feeling of value,
if the man doesn't have the innate feeling of value,
and their value is based on respect, then if you're doing all those things, they feel like they're less valuable because you're not respecting them.
Which they won't, because we are human beings. And on this side of heaven, it is an act every single day to decide that you are going to live in a point that you are valuable because Christ died for your sins. And if the man that you are marrying or dating or whoever you are surrounding doesn't understand that Christ died so that you are valuable, and have to live in that every single day. We are in a fallen world. So every time a female goes at another man and questions their value or their respect, a man will react in a term that will end up hurting the female. When all you were trying to do was get your emotions out.
Dude, that's heavy. So
fact.
So you feel that also stems with the fact that it's very hard to find a powerful couple out there where the wife is the breadwinner, the face.
Yes.
And, yeah.
Yes. Because as women become stronger, then that goes at their respect. And for a man to be able to say, I respect my wife respects me enough to have the conversation to where she's going to be the main breadwinner, then many a times man has to justify to the rest of society that they don't make as much money as their wife.
And they're not less valuable by it, but but it looks like that.
They feel as though their value is dictated by the income that is coming in every Friday.
Do you think this would happen to Dave Hollis?
That is not something that I'm going to talk about. I am not a medical professional. That is on them.
No, I'm just.
But from the
optics, when you see from societal standpoint, and you see when a woman or a wife tends to creep up on paper, on the outside looking at it, you don't know what happens behind closed doors and all that. But a lot of times when you see that, it's the man who begins to struggle because his value was always dictated on respect or math equations, and when that changes,
society told him that that's how you find your value.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's by no chance that you are in player relations for a football program.
Yeah.
And you struggled with two other friends that happen to be a bit more athletic than you or get more attention than you.
Oh, they were more athletic than me. But attention, yeah, no, I'm there with you. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't think that that's wrong.
Yeah.
But there is something that you and I will continue to work through, making sure that you feel valuable, even if you're not in a football program.
Yeah. And that's something that, again, not until last week that I really started diving into it and kind of going back, we talked about a few minutes ago, talking to my player. I forget, and I'm shameful for this, but when you talk about my value and me breaking down how I felt less than valuable based on my middle school, I forget things that you say to me sometime that make me understand that I will always be valuable and created in the image of Christ. Mm-hmm. As an African-American male, we are miracles.
Like the day that I realized, not that I realized you were a miracle, because, let's break this down from an African-American male standpoint. I can't remember if I said this on a different podcast.
No, it was alive.
Oh, it was alive. All right. Or maybe it was just me rambling. Let's get real. For a baby to happen, it's a 1 in 28 chance.
Yeah.
Because there's 28 days for a baby to be conceived. So there and of that. Mm-hmm. Within that, it's about a 7-day chance.
Yeah.
Okay. So women ovulate within a 7-day chance. Sorry for guys that don't want to know that. Sorry for kids if you didn't know that. Now you do. Okay. So then you look at the African-American male who was enslaved in the United States. One, you shouldn't have even been in the United States. You were brought to the United States against your will. Okay. Yeah. Then the white man wanted to do everything to get rid of the black man because they could control white women and black women. Right?
Yeah.
So then they started killing off the black male.
Yeah.
Not to mention, Stephen finished high school, finished college early, and has a job, which is against everything that the United States society has created.
And everything and that the United States is built upon, actually.
Add upon that, Stephen is in the South. Add upon that, Stephen has never been arrested. You are an anomaly. Yeah. And yet...
I still don't think I'm valuable.
Right.
Yes.
And I look at you, and so many other people look at you. They see your social media. They see your life the way that you want to share it. And they look at you and they go, but how do you not see the miracle that you are?
Yeah.
I see you with our kids, and I'm like, how do you not see it?
And that's the struggle. And that's the struggle that I was talking about.
That's the struggle that everybody has.
Yeah, exactly.
And people look at me and they go, how does she have depression and anxiety? How did she ever feel like her kids and her husband would be better without her here?
Yeah.
That is an actual feeling that has crossed my mind. Have we gotten lots of therapy after it? Yeah. Have we gotten a lot of medication after it? Yeah. Are there a lot of people that are in Stephen's shoes that would have walked away? Also, yeah. There are a lot of people that would have then taken my kids away from me, for sure.
And through it all, it's just mind-blowing that I've gotten to this point and still struggle. Well, I definitely think I'm getting better because I'm starting to recognize. I actually feel that I've taken another step in my life with you challenging me and getting to some of that root issue, because
you've taken a massive step.
Yeah. Because
this past week, Stephen was confronted with a scenario that typically Stephen would then feel like he has to justify his value and his ability. I can't go into too much detail, but instead he was so content with who he is and where he's going that he told me, that's going to have to wait till I finish this.
Did you know that I sell makeup? Not only do I sell makeup, but the makeup that I sell is 3D makeup, which allows you to highlight and contour your face in a super simple compact. As a mom, I could not survive without my simplified routine. Not only that, but it's exactly what you need. Exactly when you need it, all in one spot. Go ahead and check out Alana Mizell on Instagram or alanamizell.com to learn more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, okay, I see you.
Exactly, because
little Cardi B.
but that goes back when you have those tough conversations with people, with parents, with spouses, with employers. If you at the root of it know that you, in my case, I feel I am a miracle and I am valuable with regardless of how you feel about me, regardless what you say you can do to me, regardless what you can do, that gives you that peace of mind. And we are full disclosure here on this podcast. And me and Alana struggled with our relationship based on my lack of value. And through our 8 years of marriage, it has been something that's constantly been happening, not constantly, but it's happened here and there, and she could never get to the root of it. And I also knew it was there, but I never really told her, or I didn't even know. But now she understands so much more about me because I was able to open up, and we're 8 years in now.
We've known each other for 10 years.
10 years. Listen, for 10 years, we're 10 years in, we're still learning and growing. And not until I got back to that root and really started unpacking things in my life that I started to see, this is why I feel less valuable. This is why I get frustrated with Alana. This is why I get frustrated with XYZ, because in my mind, hey, if I did this, then I'm supposed to get this. So why is this not happening?
Right. And I also think that as you start to unpack where your value actually comes from and kind of what made you feel less valuable, we forget that there are layers on top of that. And they could be even little times in which you felt less valuable. So maybe a time that you didn't get the job that you thought you deserved, or you were overlooked for a promotion, or, even something like somebody says something to you the wrong way. That's just going to stack up. And even if you push those feelings down, they're going to come back up. And what they do is they resonate with the original problem that made you feel less valuable. And so after, after we got married, I've been sexually assaulted twice. There's a whole lot that I didn't unpack and still haven't completely unpacked, but it did carry a lot of weight, in our early days of marriage. And then you look at Stephen's feeling less valuable because he had these two guys that were going and whatnot, and he had stronger moral code than they did. And so those two things collided, and it wasn't until we're reflecting 8 years later and asking the question, do you feel valuable, that we unpacked it, and Stephen's value felt less than because of two guys that were going, and he had a stronger moral code. But when you look at it at the age that he is now, he says, thank God I had a stronger moral code.
Yes.
And yet, there's so much tied to it with you giving yourself lack of respect.
Yeah.
And lack of authority to the fact that, you know what, middle school, high school, Stephen, I'm so glad you didn't do that. So the other thing within value that I've been working on is reflecting back to specifically when I was 11 was a hard time for me. Of course, sixth grade.
So great. Well, don't tell me. I had my middle school journey.
Straight up, sixth grade. Like, do we need to even say anything?
No.
But so I was challenged by my therapist to write a letter to myself.
Ooh.
To the 11-year-old self, because that's a massive trigger point for me, and there's a whole lot that happened that year. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is as I was writing it, I could depict almost the entire year. Like, I knew when it started, I knew when it ended, I knew the big events that happened. Given my 11th grade year happened to be 9/11, which made it kind of easier to remember. But even then, I can almost see the hallway because it had so much trauma that lasted over the rest of my life. And then I went to a time when I left for college and looked at that girl and said she was fearless. And then I was talking to my therapist today, and she goes, you just shamed yourself and gave yourself less value because you're not where you were and you're fearless. But you have to remember that there are times that God will blind you from your pain so that you can start to heal from it.
Ooh.
So maybe God was hiding you from your pain when you chose to go to MTSU for college and not be with those guys anymore.
Yeah.
So then you could grow as a person in without anybody else. Just Stephen. I know for a fact that God blinded my pain from home and the things that were going on. I didn't go to school with any of my friends. I didn't know a single person when I came to Memphis, so that I could be on the path to heal.
Yeah.
And
sit
all these down years, and count those blessings.
Yeah.
First of all, I wouldn't know Jesus because one of my sorority sisters introduced me to him.
Yeah.
Fact. I wouldn't know Stephen. Those are two biggest things in my life. But there are little benchmarks along the way that I just felt like I deserved because I worked hard for them. No, I didn't.
No, you didn't.
I just got them because I'm valuable.
Yes.
And because God blinded me from the pain that would have happened if I stayed.
Yeah.
Or the pain and terror if I didn't go.
You didn't go. No, I think that's very... I think the reflection piece of it is key, because as I continue to work through this, I reflect on times and situations that I put my value in those current situations. And now I think what you said was beautiful in terms of blinding you to help heal you. And so you blinded me to those. I feel like I was blinded through some of those dark nights and terror that I had in terms of the less valuable moments in high school and in middle school, in order to help me heal and help me to get to where I am today. Because if I would have experienced those things and went through those things, I don't know where I would be today as a husband, as a father, as a working professional. So
right, how much more can you share with your players because you weren't the guy that they think they need to be?
That's beautiful. It's just so true.
Right. You can share the other side of the story that society doesn't tell. So it's the
cool,
opposite of what society tells them to be.
And this is opposite of what society likes.
That's the value of Stephen Mizell as Director of Player Relations in an environment of Division I athletes. No matter if it's football, whatever it is, you're surrounded by these Division I athletes that are told their whole life that you're either going to be an athlete, or you're going to be a rapper, or you're going to do this, or you're going to sell drugs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
More times than not, in the urban community, that's the solution. So instead, they get to see Stephen Mizell, the miracle, that on top of that, withheld from sex until he was married.
Yeah.
Sorry to share your dirty laundry.
That's real clean laundry, actually.
That's clean laundry. That's squeaky clean.
Laundry, yeah.
But that's a different person that these students get to experience, and they get to hear you still get the girl at the end of the day.
Yep.
And you may get the better one.
Yep.
Worth because you decided to stay true to who you are and didn't listen to the societal norms. And yet, that is the biggest thing that makes you feel like you don't have value. But I see it as the most valuable part of you.
Yeah. Whew.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
So, how do you find your value? Well, first, how do you figure out if you don't feel valuable? I would say.
The question. You have to get a certain person to ask the question.
You got to get your shark.
Yes.
Call me. No, I'll ask you all the questions.
Yes.
You can reach out to us. But I would say sit and spend some time alone with yourself, which is terrifying at times. But think about the first pain point that you had. The most painful thing you can think of in your life.
You have to be willing to unpack.
Well, you got to figure out where that first pain point is,
Yes.
and then from there, see how it's triggered some other things in your life. But how you determine if you feel your value is another whole ballgame. So we were talking about this on Clubhouse, and if you're not on Clubhouse, what are you doing with your life?
Get on Clubhouse.
Get on Clubhouse.
Yes.
And we were talking about it with one of our good friends, and what it came to is I was just at a leader retreat, mentor retreat with my company, with Saint. And so it was filled with about 80 women that are the top in our country. Not country. Company. And country. No, I'm just kidding. They probably could be. But they're the top in our company. And each one of us really felt valuable because you could see that they weren't trying to be somebody else. And within that, each person realized that every one of us carries their own identity. We're not trying to steal each other's customers. We're sharing different ideas that each of us have. And that is one of the most beautiful things about Saint is that all of us own who we are. Or we're working on it. Yeah. And you can see those that are working on it. You could tell that I was working on it. But at the same time, you walk in there and you realize that there's a difference between competition and threat. And when you can determine that you are okay with competition and you don't feel like everybody is threatening you, you have found your value.
Yes.
So if you go into a room filled with your competition, so all the directors of player relations in the whole country, and you walk in and you feel threatened by this person, you've lost your value.
Yep. You don't know your value.
You've lost it. Come on back. There is something that only you can give.
Yeah.
Stephen, there's only something you can give. There's only something that I can give. Although many people have been through, big T traumas that I have been through, there's only one person that has been through it in the same system that I have been. There's only one person that has been brought up the same exact way that I have. So what I have from my value standpoint isn't those things. Those stories are what make up. They just happen to me. They are not Alana. And that's how you kind of determine when you're walking in the room, I've got a story that I could tell you, but I'm not threatened by your story because only you can carry that.
And only you can carry your story and carry your value. And
right.
I think that's something that I forgot when you talked about that. That is when you can step in a room with some of the top people in your industry and you don't feel that threat and you know that God created you to be in this role, to be in this seat, and you know that you bring something completely different to the table, that's when you know your value. It's not easy.
No longer threatened.
It's not easy getting there, though.
Well, absolutely not.
So you said...
And you'll work on it every single day.
You have to work on every single day.
Every day. The days that you stop working on realizing your value are the days that you will relapse and go back to the times that you felt less than valuable and felt that your works were going to get you your value.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is a heavy episode, but I want you guys to really sit there and think about, do I really believe I am valuable outside of anything that I could achieve? If everything was taken away from you today, you are by yourself, the clothes on your back are taken away, it is just you, not your family. Do you feel you are valuable? If not, find the largest pain point in your life and unpack it. I will bet that it will show you a time that you felt least valuable, which has now dictated the way that you act in the rest of your life. You guys, there's hope in that, though, because there's hope in finding where you've lost your value so that you can find it again and be okay with competition and not feel like everybody is a threat.
So if you guys are enjoying this, definitely leave us a review. Give us the feedback. If there's something you guys want us to talk about, reach out to us on our website at themizelleshow.com. There is a contact section. You can put it in there. We would love to hear about it. Or you can always go over to Instagram at The Mizell Show. Also, as always, don't forget to screenshot this episode and just add it to your stories and tag us on Instagram, on Facebook at The Mizell Show. Thanks, guys. Are you loving The Mizell Show? Well, we love you all. And did you know that you can have me and Steven talk to your team or a group of 25 of your friends? All it takes is 25 people showing up on either a Zoom call, a Facebook Live, or really anywhere. Hopefully in person sooner rather than later. But how do you get us? So all you have to do is email themizellshow@gmail.com, or you can direct message us on Instagram at The Mizell Show.